The Governor of Queensland, Dr. Jeanette Young, AC, PSN, and unfortunately I've just found out that husband, Professor Nilo, is ill, so he's an apology tonight. So man, welcome back to your club. Great to see you again. And on behalf of the United Service Club of Queensland, can I welcome all our members and guests here tonight. It's going to be a great night. There's a lot of entertainment lined up, and we're here for a very serious event. So that's my welcome to you, and I'd like to now introduce Mr. Mike Harris, who's the President of the Australian American Association. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much, Darryl. And yes, I am President of the Australian American Association in Brisbane, and it's my pleasure and privilege to be your MC this evening for this very special event that as we gather at this most prestigious United Service Club to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the United States Declaration of Independence. And I thank you all for joining us, and we are certainly delighted to have you with us as we celebrate not only a historical milestone, but also the enduring friendship between Australia and the United States of America. Before I proceed, I would like to offer the acknowledgement to country. I respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather this evening, the Turrbal and Yugara peoples, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I acknowledge their continuing connection to land, waters and community, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people with us tonight. And now it's my great pleasure this evening to acknowledge the guests at this magnificent historical celebration. This evening we are especially honoured to be joined by a number of distinguished guests, including our association and also the United Service Club's patron, Her Excellency the Governor of Queensland, Dr. Jeanette Young, AC, PSN, and Her Excellent Aide-de-Camp, Commander Nick Cusack. Welcome. I'd also Dr. Philip Morris and his wife Carol Morris. Carol is President of the Australian American Association on the Gold Coast, and she will be speaking tonight. I would also like to warmly acknowledge one of the association members, Laurie Cartagena, who is joined this evening by her son Chris. Chris travelled from the US earlier this week to spend time with his mother and share this special occasion with us tonight. And we extend a very warm welcome to you both. And I also welcome veterans and presidents and representatives of ex-service and community organisations. And a special welcome to our Australian American Association board members, Dr. Peter Glasbrook, he's sitting over there, Vice President Tony Chow, his wife Jill, Alice Langford and partner Peter Cumming. Also Association Special Projects Officer Peter Racy, and our newest members, I'll give them a plug. Bridget Cullen, Hilton Taylor, Jane Taylor, Barbara Heinbach, Aaron Staggs and Julianne Staggs. And if I've missed anyone, I really wish to apologise. Okay, now, without further ado, I would also like to extend a very special heartfelt welcome to our distinguished musical guests here. The United States Navy 7th Fleet, and I'll just name them. Kimbra, she plays horn. Matthew plays trombone. Zachary plays tuba. Hayden, trumpet. And Justin, trumpet. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite you for a moment to take a look around at this beautifully decorated Glasgow room and I'm sure you'll agree that it's been transformed into a fitting setting for such a historic occasion. Would you please join me in acknowledging the outstanding work of the United Service Club's events manager, ladies and gentlemen. As we gather tonight to celebrate this 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, a defining moment in history that gave birth to a new nation. Think about that, a new nation came about, and it was founded on the enduring principles of liberty, democracy, individual rights and representative government. For 250 years, these ideals have inspired generations and shaped the remarkable story of the United States of America, and they have also strengthened this enduring friendship between Australia and America. So we honour this horrific milestone. Let us celebrate not only America's past, but also the lasting bonds of that wonderful friendship between our two nations. Amen. So I thank you and enjoy this special evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to invite the Lieutenant Her Excellency the Governor, the Honourable Jeanette Young, ACPSM, to present her remarks.
Make a few remarks before we start this wonderful evening. So I'd also like to acknowledge some of the many distinguished guests who are here this evening, but I would like to acknowledge, representing the Lord Mayor, Councillor Kim Marks. I'd like to acknowledge the Honourable Justice John Logan, AM, RFD, Federal Member for Moreton, Miss Julianne Campbell, MP, representing Commander HMAS Moreton, Lieutenant Commander Nan Ewan, representing the Consul General of the United States of America, Mr. Joe Budlingmeyer, Consul General of Japan, Mr. Katsutoshi Ishikawa, President, United Service Club, Major General Darrell Lowe Choi, AM, MBE, RFD, President of the Australian American Association Brisbane, Mr. Mike Harris, President of the Australian American Association Gold Coast, Mrs. Carol Morris, all the other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I also would like to begin by acknowledging the original custodians of the lands that Brisbane is on, the Turrbal and Yagara people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend those respects to any First Nations people here this evening. I'm very pleased to be with you this evening to celebrate such a significant milestone in the story of the United States of America, the 250th anniversary of its independence. So as we all know, on this day, 2.5 centuries ago, the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia ratified a one-page document that brought 13 former colonies together to shape a new nation built on equality, freedom and the right of every individual to seek happiness. The United States Declaration of Independence was bold and brave, and it was to have a significant impact on the world. A British MP of the time commented, "A great revolution has happened, a revolution made not by chopping and changing of power in any one of the existing states, but by the appearance of a new state, of a new species in a new part of the globe." The Declaration's principal author, Thomas Jefferson, referred to it as an expression of the American mind. Independence gave the American people the opportunity to forge their own paths, to nurture the qualities that captured the essence of the American spirit: optimism, energy and enterprise, and a keen desire to innovate. As we celebrate 250 years of the vibrant, multi-layered story of the United States of America, we can also reflect on the obligation we all share to continually strive towards the Declaration's foundational ideals. In the increasingly connected yet complex world, the friendships between nations become ever more valuable. And as Governor of Queensland, I'm deeply proud of the enduring bonds that exist between our two countries. These were cemented during World War II, when Australia and America were brought together as allies, fighting to protect the fundamental principle of democracy we both hold dear. Formal bilateral diplomatic relations were established in 1940, but it was on the seas, in the skies and on the battlefields of the South Pacific that a deep sense of camaraderie and mutual respect grew. In August last year, we recognised the 80th anniversary of victory in the Pacific, and I was honoured to attend the moving joint US-Australian commemorative service in Townsville, laying a wreath at the US 5th Air Force Memorial, memory of those who lost their lives to bring peace to the region, and acknowledging those who carried the scars of war home. Poignant events like this, alongside others, including the annual Battle of the Coral Sea commemoration service, reminds us that this legacy continues to enhance our contemporary alliance. Joint US-Australian military exercises such as Operation Talisman Sabre, which 2025 brought back to our shores, promotes the significance of collaboration, cooperation and trust in the 21st century. And of course, aside from defence-related activities, our bilateral economic, technological and cultural ties have only been strengthened over the years, helped along in no small way by the vital work of the Australian American Association Brisbane, which was formed here in 1941, came into prominence during General Douglas MacArthur's time and has flourished ever since. As Governor and patron of both the Association and the United Service Club Queensland, I acknowledge and thank both organisations for hosting tonight's dinner and for reinforcing our shared sense of purpose, particularly as we look towards 2028, when Los Angeles passes the Olympic flag to Brisbane. I also thank the incredible Shonen Brass Quintet of the US Navy 7th Fleet for bringing us the music of America. As we reflect on this most influential declaration of self-determination, we celebrate a nation whose partnerships, achievements and ideals over 250 years have been inspirational. Congratulations on this historic occasion.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Is it time yet for? It is. Right. I'd now like to invite my Australian American Association board member, Dr. Peter Glasdale, to say the grace before our meal.
Thank you, Mike, and welcome to everybody. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, we could not get a more significant commemoration than this. 250 years coming, but that said, I will pass a comment that we live in troubled times, and I'm sure there's no one in this room that would dispute the proposition that enduring friendships overcome all troubled times. So Lord, let us give thanks for enduring friendships, especially that between Australia and the United States of America. And in doing so too, we must thank our United Services people in terms of the preparation done today, and through them we enjoy the fruits of thy bounty. Amen.
Thank you, Peter. I think it's now time for our first course. Ladies and gentlemen, I now wish to invite the United States Consul General's representative, Mr. Joe Beadley-Meyer, Global Affairs US Consulate General, Sydney, to present his remarks. And I'll just read Joe's bio. Very interesting. Joe Bielingmeyer is the Chief of Global Affairs in the US Consulate General in Sydney, overseeing US-Australia cooperation on regional economic and security issues, as well as AUKUS.
We're all ears.
Joe arrived in Sydney in December 2024. Prior to Sydney, Joe served in the US Department of State, Bureau of East Asia and the Pacific, focused on US-China technology policy. Joe is a career Foreign Service officer, having served with the Department of State for 18 years, including prior overseas tours in East Africa, Afghanistan, Singapore, Albania, and 2 tours in Washington. Prior to joining the Foreign Service, Joe worked in defence, contracting with Northrop Grumman as a counsellor in private practice and in the field of higher education administration. Joe holds a Master of Science in Mental Health Counselling from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, as well as a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. Joe grew up in Annapolis, Maryland, and is married to his wife Betsy from Knoxville, Tennessee, who is a veterinarian and global health professional. Joe and Betsy have 2 children, ages 17 and 14. In his free time, Joe enjoys mountain biking and attending sporting events with his family. I welcome Joe.
Good evening, everybody. Mike, thanks for the warm welcome. That's really nice. So our Consul General, Jeremy Cornforth, was here earlier this week, but he sends his regrets he couldn't be here tonight. He's taken some much-deserved leave after a very busy couple weeks in Sydney, but I'm thrilled to be here on his behalf. A real pleasure. Dr. Young, great to meet you. I want to welcome everybody else that's here as well. Members of the Australian American Association Brisbane and the Gold Coast, you guys have a beautiful facility here. Thank you for the welcome. The United Service Club of Queensland, veterans, family, friends, and of course the 7th Fleet's brass quintet here tonight who are playing music for us. I'll say that I arrived in Sydney in January of 2025, and so far one of my most memorable experiences in Sydney has been the arrival of the USS America to Sydney. We had a big reception at the ship-port there, got to meet Admiral Kacher, who's the 7th Fleet Admiral, so great to have that connection back to the band here. So as you all know, today is July 4th. I will say that on my way over here, so on the East Coast right now, it's, what time is it, 8 o'clock? So it's 6 a.m. on the East Coast of the U.S. right now. I'm starting to get messages from my friends in Tennessee who are smoking, barbecuing, various meats. And I was getting their spreads for the day, which is pretty exciting. So this is a huge day for us, as you guys know, and particularly today, Americans are celebrating signing of Declaration of Independence in 1776. It's 250 years, as the governor mentioned as well. And you know, I think it's really amazing to me, very proud for me that it's a declaration built on the ideas of liberty, self-governance, and the belief that people have the opportunity to shape their own future. That was a very radical idea at the time, and here we are 250 years later. I think aside from that, right, it's very also fitting that I'm here in Brisbane to reflect on another really important and critical piece of history, which is the Second World War, and one that connects our 2 countries in a very special way. And this was touched on earlier, but many people don't realize that during World War II, General Douglas MacArthur established and directed the Allied campaign from right here in Brisbane, just a few kilometers away, and now what is the museum, right? He was on the 8th floor of that building from 1942 to 1944. And some of the most important decisions in that war and that helped change the course of the war were made in that building, right? We're sitting here just a few kilometers from that, which is pretty amazing. So I think the US-Australia alliance was forged right here in Brisbane during that time, and in this city and across Queensland, and we continue to build on that history and shared experience today. So very proud to be here in Queensland and in Brisbane, particularly on July 4th. So at the height of the war, nearly 1 million Americans came through Australia, and many called Queensland home for an extended period of time. Even only for a short time, we trained together, we worked together, and we faced really extraordinary challenges together during those years. And that time was also not just about military cooperation, but we created lifelong friendships. Thousands of Americans met Australians here, many started families, and generations later, there are still Australians and Americans connected because of those years. I've met some of you tonight, and I know that some of you have connections to other Americans, part of your families are American, and that's a really special connection that we have. And I think for me, that shared history, you know, the adversity that we face together is one part of it, but also the strength of the relationship between our two nations is not only built on governments, but it's also built by ordinary people, right? It's built neighbors, friends, and families that come together over these last many years. And today, the United States and Australia continue to stand together as close allies, but more importantly, as trusted friends who share many of the same values. Democracy, freedom, resilience, and a willingness to help one another in difficult times, and we've seen that carry through the years. So as we celebrate America's Independence Day, I'd also like to celebrate something else we have in common, which is the enduring friendship between the U.S. and Australia, and especially between the U.S. and Queensland. Thank you. Yeah. It is a friendship that was initially formed in difficult times, and it's been strengthened over the generations, and now it continues to grow today. So I want to thank you and Australia for hosting this event and for your friendship and hospitality, and thanks to everyone here for joining us in celebrating not only America's 250th birthday, but the remarkable partnership between our two countries, and particularly Queensland dating from World War II. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, and well done. Our next speaker is our good friend, or my good friend, who originally hailed from New Jersey. Sorry, my Australian accent, I can't say it properly. New Jersey. Ms. Carol Morris, President of the Australian American Association on the Gold Coast. And also she is Vice President of our federal body, so our federal Australian American body that consists of some 6 regions throughout Australia. So Carol is going to present her remarks, and would you please welcome her. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. How are you this evening? You're all looking pretty swell, so I guess it's been a great night so far. Can't wait for more. I spent a lot of time in schools and universities and colleges throughout America and in Australia, and having done that, I bring props to everything. So when I come, not only did I bring my father's VFW Post 511 Manahawkin, New Jersey hat, which is very important. And also, my father just couldn't stop. So he was the past commander of Barnegat, New Jersey, which is down the shore as well, the American Legion there. And then, of course, we lived in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, which is up north, close to Newark. And he was the commander of the Berkeley Heights Division as well. So if you see why I'm interested in this kind of work and this kind of activity, it's because my mom and dad were very much engaged in that when I was a child, and they engaged us. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the 4th of July. And today on the 4th of July, we gather to celebrate the 250th, as we just heard, anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. From a small group of determined patriots in 1776 who dared to dream of a life of liberty and the pursuit of happiness, but like this part, arose a nation that has inspired generations and stood as a beacon of freedom across the globe. 250 years ago, with a single sheet of parchment and 56 signatures, the founders proclaimed the irreducible truth that all men, and I add all women, are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights. That declaration ignited a revolution of thought, of courage, and of relentless determination that not only shattered the bonds of tyranny, but also laid the foundation for one of the greatest republics the world has ever known. Throughout the centuries, Americans have exemplified resilience, ingenuity, and unity. From the rugged perseverance of our early pioneers to the visionary architects shaping our cities, from the scientists and the innovators propelling humanity toward the countless citizens who defend our freedoms, America's story is one of striving, achieving, and marching ever onward. On this day, we honor not only the heroes of 1776, but every individual through the years who's upheld the ideals of justice, equality, and opportunity. The American spirit is measured not solely on the triumphs, but on our devotion to the principles that ensure liberty and foster progress. As we celebrate this 250th anniversary, let us reflect on the enduring promise of our nation. A, that freedom is a right to be cherished. B, innovation is a duty to be pursued. And C, a community is shared responsibility. The journey of America is ongoing, and each generation is called to contribute its courage, vision, compassion to lift our nation to new heights. So today, as we gaze upon, and I will show you this flag. Any Americans here know what this flag is? This is a real honor to me. My father was Army Air Force World War II. He was stationed in England, and he was air traffic controller, bringing planes in and out of the corridors. And after some time, he then came back to America, went to work for AT&T for many years, laid all the lines during the riots in New Jersey and New York, and was very much engaged in all these kinds of activities. But this, to me, is the greatest honor that I've ever received in my life, because my father did pass away. He was age 90. In 1990, and at that time the Marines were stationed in Trenton, New Jersey, and so I remember seeing the flags folded at the gravesite of a soldier, and I thought, well, my dad deserves that too. And so I just rang him up and I said, hey guys, unfortunately Dad's passed away. He's 90 years old, and he's going to be buried in Manahawkin Cemetery, and would you come and fold the flag for him? They said, hang on. Just give me a minute. And so, somebody went up to talk to somebody and came back and they said, sure, we'll come and do it. And they did. And there is no greater honor to a family member or to anyone, really, who sits in front of the coffin and sees the flag being folded by two of the crispest looking U.S. Marines, beautiful uniforms that they wear. And then they come up to you and they say to you, the surviving relative, thank you for his service, ma'am. And I say thank you for his service. It's good in that class, isn't it?
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Well done, Carol. It's great to hear these stories about Americans. Many of them came through here, as we found out in previous speeches. 1 million Americans in Queensland at one stage, I think it was. And I think in Australia, in 1944, 1 in 8 was an American. I think our microphone just went off. I won't complain. I'll shout. So, entree, I think, is... They will cut the cake. And later on the cake will be cut. On my run sheet it says 9:36, and guess what the time is?
9:37.
Oh, mine says 9:36. Well, I'll stick to my time. Okay, we're about to begin our toast, and without further ado, I'd like to have you stand, and with your glasses ready, and I will ask, or invite, the United States Consul General's representative, Joe, I'm having trouble. Joe Beatley, mate, to come to the lectern to propose the toast of the United States of America. Thank you. There you go, Joe.
Thank you. Good evening again, everybody. So, quickly, we talked about the 250th anniversary here in the U.S. My wine is almost out, but I'm not just enough for a toast. But in addition to that, it's also the 75th anniversary of the ANZUS Treaty, as you all know. So, today as well. So, I wanted to say to the friendship between U.S. and Australia, and 75 years more of security cooperation as well. So, thank you. Great timing. So.
Please sing the anthem. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. I'd now like to invite our Vice President, Tony Chow, who will propose a toast to Australia and America United. Please come over here, Tony. I think he has a speech.
That's a bit of a little spiel. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, today we gather to celebrate a momentous occasion, the 250th anniversary of American independence. According to the U.S. National Archives, quote, "The Declaration of Independence is perhaps the most masterfully written state paper of Western civilization." Unquote. This preamble provides a set of ideas that shape the world. That all people are created equal, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are rights that cannot be taken away, and a legitimate government rests on the consent of the governed. As we commemorate this milestone, let's honor the strong bond between America and Australia through shared values, cooperation, and mutual support. We are proud allies, close partners, and above all, good friends. And that friendship is carried not only by our government, but by our people, through family ties, business, education, and culture. Here in Brisbane, as a demonstration of the strong bond between America and Australia, in December 1947, 30,000 people watched a state funeral procession held in Brisbane for an unknown U.S. soldier. The soldier represented 1,871 American war dead who were repatriated from Ipswich and from Rookwood Cemetery in Sydney. This was the first of its kind for the American soldier to be given a funeral procession to an Australian city. Just the other day, I learned that Brisbane and Los Angeles, where I'm from, are sister cities, an agreement that was signed this past April. So tonight, let us raise a glass to 250 years of American independence, to the remarkable friendship between Australia and the United States, and to many more years of cooperation, goodwill, and shared success ahead. To Australia and the United States.
That was so overwhelmingly beautiful. Honestly, everyone here had that feeling about their own country and the United States of America, our brother country. Let us think about that. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I have your attention, please? More speakers.
Well, at least I think I've been having a good night.
I'd like to now invite our Australian American Association. He's one of us. He's our Special Projects Officer, Peter Racy. He does a lot for us. He gives me a lot of advice about the history of Brisbane monuments and what went on during World War II. And he's been responsible for quite a number of monuments as well. So Peter's done a lot of work in this area, and I think he deserves an acclamation for that, for the work he does. Thank you. We've asked Peter tonight to give the vote of thanks, and I'm sure he's going to do a good job. And I'd just like you to welcome him to the lectern. He's one of our, in fact, he's our only Special Projects Officer. We thought of that term for him because he's so special. Yes. Because he's a fountain of knowledge as far as the history of World War II in Brisbane. And if I need to know something about what happened in Brisbane during World War II, I ring Peter, because he will know. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Peter to the microphone. Thank you, Peter.
I didn't realise that was going to turn out to be a roast. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure tonight to give the vote of thanks. And I'm going to request that you hold off on any applause till the end. And I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to do it in reverse order. Don't worry, Governor, we'll get to you. And there's a very special reason for that, which will become apparent. So first, the staff of the United Services Club, thank you. You have looked after us with impeccable grace. To the 7th Fleet Band, thank you so much. You've kept the rhythm. You've been upbeat, and I don't think we could have asked for anything better. Thank you so much. The United Services Club President, Major General Darryl Loco. A sincere thank you for being such a great and gracious host tonight. You've really outdone yourself with personal service to the club and to the event tonight.
Our pleasure.
To the events manager, Josh, who is a more relaxed individual than the Major General. You've really outdone yourself tonight. This has been a fantastic function. And to Mike and Teresa, as usual, you've outdone yourself. I mean, those who have gone to the Battle of the Coral Sea know how much effort they put in, and tonight they've really pulled out all the stops. Really an exceptionally great job. Now, moving on to the sharp end of the thank yous. To the guest speakers, fantastic, really great. To the Governor, I thought it was going to be very hard to top your great speech, but they just managed to make a very tight context. Very tight. Now, as I lose my way, which had to happen, I would have thought, the event tonight is being marked in America by one of the more traditional great examples of democracy in action, and that is opening of a presidential library. And it's not the Obama library that probably most of you will immediately think, because he's had so much publicity of his great institution that he's opened in Chicago. It is actually the Teddy Roosevelt Library. And you may wonder what the connection is, and Governor, you're going to be very interested in this. Teddy Roosevelt was a great fan of Banjo Paterson, and out at Whitton there is a Banjo Paterson museum, and just a very special Queensland addition into the celebrations that are occurring. Now, getting to the sharp end, Governor, again, a very special thank you, but to your office especially. In Queensland, we have had, next year for 80 years, the Battle of the Coral Sea event held here. And I am certain from my research that would have folded, except for the fact that the officer of the Governor has been so unstinting in giving help to the organisers, the many organisers over the many years. And so, Governor, can you pass on a very special thank you? And I would call on everyone here to thank everyone with a rousing cheer and applause, please.
For everything you do for our association. I'd like to give my closing remarks, and ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude this evening's celebrations, I would like to express a couple of things. Firstly, please join me in thanking the Shonen Brass Quintet for their outstanding musical performance. They have a lot of talent, these guys and girls, and which has added to a special dimension for tonight's celebration, and we sincerely thank them. Thank you, Kendra, and you guys. Thank you for sharing your music with us, and we wish them a safe and pleasant journey on their home, heading home to their home base in Japan, in Yokosuka, Japan. I would also like to express our heartfelt appreciation to Her Excellency, our distinguished guests, and every one of you for joining us this evening. Your presence has made this celebration of the 250th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence both memorable and very meaningful. We trust you've enjoyed the fellowship, the music, and the opportunity to share in this special occasion. And I thank you for your attendance, and I hope you have a safe journey home, and we wish you a very good evening. And I'll leave it at that, but I've had a whale of a night. I really enjoyed myself tonight, and I hope you do too. I really do. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
For the departure of the Vice of Her Excellency, the Governor of Queensland. Thank you.
Thank you.